up to.
The story of how music really came into my life is pretty crazy. There's definitely a lot of different ways you could go about telling it, but I guess, you know, growing up, my house wasn't really a big musical house. I don't even think my parents owned any CDs, but just between hearing any music that my older brother had given me when we would go and visit him in school, or just like CDs that he would give me, that kind of is what got me started. And there was actually a guy, he was friends with my parents, and he was our neighbor. This was actually his house right here. His name was Dennis DeVito, and he played guitar and sang in a band called Cats on Holiday. And that was the band. My parents loved that band, and we would go see them all the time. They just played around Cleveland, and yeah, that was the first band I've ever seen. And so pretty much, you know, within a couple houses down from the house that I actually grew up in, which is actually right here, music was just really easily accessible for me. Dennis definitely got me interested in starting to like pick up an acoustic, and just he would teach me some songs, and I guess that's kind of how I got started. Kind of growing up in, you know, in this just neighborhood in Cleveland. I was kind of bullied a lot, and you know, got picked on, beat up, all kinds of stuff. And music was just a way. It was just a way to just kind of get away, you know, like it was a way to almost escape reality. If you pick up a guitar, I just float away to almost like into like another world, and it was really cool. And that's what really attracted me. At the end of 8th grade, we had moved out of Olmsted Falls to a house in Grafton, which is completely different from living in the city. It's just, I mean, out in farmland, I guess what some people call the boonies. But yeah, so that was a completely different aspect. You know, growing up in public school and growing up in Catholic school and moving to public school, big change, and it was definitely really so hard. These neighbors came, they just came over and just to meet us, and they had a son. His name was Dominic. And him and I just clicked instantly. He saw that I had a guitar, and he told me that he had one, and you know, neither of us were really any good at all, but it was still fun. It was still a fun thing to do. And you know, we started playing together, and you know, it was just really cool. Once we started school, you know, it was like I instantly had friends because I knew this kid who had been going to that school for some time. So it was definitely some kind of the first time in my life that I had never really been an outcast or never really been bullied for anything. And kind of just throughout high school, that's when music started. You know, all my friends were musicians. That was what we did. And you know, Dom and I we'd write songs, and you know, we have CDs now, and we listen to them, and it's just hysterical. We were just making our own little things, and just through time we ended up meeting some people, and we started this band, and we called ourselves Dead West. We ended up changing our name to Arlia. That was not my decision. But yeah, we started playing out a lot, and definitely meeting a lot of new people that, you know, I never would have met if it hadn't been for music. And you know, as time went by, we got really close with these guys in this band called Affiance, and I guess things kind of started to fall apart with our band that we had, and Dominic and I ended up getting asked to join Affiance, which, you know, we were all about because they were really good, and Their singer was really good. I remember that was all we thought was how good their singer was, and that was really all we cared about. Because we had in our minds that we were the writing core of this band that we had, and we knew that those guys were good, but they needed some help writing better songs. And one of the things that a lot of people don't really know about is, my cousin Anton played in the band Arlia that we had. He played bass. When Dominic and I got the offer to join Affiance, we asked about him coming with us and playing also, but the fact of the matter was those guys didn't want another bass player. They liked the one they had. He was their really good friend. So it was definitely really difficult, and probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do to kind of tell him that we were going to move on without him, because we had a really great opportunity. These guys were serious, and they wanted to do this, for a living, and that was, at the time, that was what we wanted to do. I just remember telling him that we weren't going to play together anymore, because when the Arlia disbanded and we kind of went our separate ways, he was with us, and we were just in it together. We had plans to start a new band, and we were kind of leaving him in the dust, and I still think about it sometimes and wish it would have went down differently, but I think everything happened the way it was supposed to, and we are the way we are now is because of how that happened. As time kind of went on in the band, things were very serious. A lot of stuff had happened throughout the summer, just from touring, and people's living situations and things like that. It all changed, and we kind of made a move to, more financially stabilize the band. And I guess without going into any really crazy details, through a lot of talk with family and friends and a lot of prayer, I realized that I didn't think God wanted me to play in that band anymore. Things were kind of on bad terms for a while, but throughout the next year, we had ironed everything out, and Dom and I were best friends again, and I was cool with everybody else in the band. God had given me a fresh start, and He lifted a weight off my shoulders and gave me a new life. And I guess I like to think that was when I realized that God is the most important thing, and I wanted to live my life for Him. Something told me, like, look, just start school now. And it was so scary, because I had been out of school for a semester. With the summer, it had been about 7 months, which, I hated school, and it was definitely not something I wanted to go back to. And so throughout, going through college, I had reunited with a lot of old friends, and we started playing a lot of music together, and I played drums in Affiance. I was playing guitar again, and just writing songs. And that's kind of how Newshutz started. We take our music very seriously, and at the same time, we had a blast doing it. And I like to think that that's what makes it fun when people come and see us, is because our friends, they know we're having fun, and that's at that same time they're having fun too. It's just a really cool experience and a really fun atmosphere, I think. One thing I think that I really got out of music, that's been the most important thing in my life, is music kind of brought me closer to God. When I was in high school, and Dom and I were kicking it and writing songs and stuff, he was dating this girl who went to this church, and they had a band at this church, and for me this was ridiculous. It was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever heard. I didn't believe bands could play in church. I always thought it was an organ and, you know, a choir singing. But he was dating this girl, and her brother was in our grade, and he played at the church, and they invited us to kind of just come up there and jam. So we brought all our stuff up there, and I ended up meeting the pastor and you know, his brother who played in the band, and kind of getting close with those guys. And you know, Dom started going to this church, which was weird for him too. He was the same, from the same upbringing as my brother and I, and just went to Catholic school, went to Catholic church. And when you're a kid going to Catholic church, you know, it's not something you want to do, and it's a hassle to get up early Sunday morning, and you know, you're begging to leave after communion, which, you know, took off a whole 3 minutes of the service, but it was the best thing in the world. And you know, after my mother's father died, we kind of had a falling out from the church, and you know, as kids we didn't care. You know, we were happy because we didn't have to do that on Sunday mornings anymore. But you know, like I was saying, we started going to this other church. I had went with Dominic and his girlfriend at the time, and it just really, it really reached me in a way that I don't think any other Catholic service or any other service really could have. You know, I started going there and attending regularly, and my parents, you know, they realized that they had to check it out because they thought it was some kind of cult, and because they were just flabbergasted by the fact that their son wants to go to church. So they came and they fell in love with it, and you know, I think all kind of as a whole gave our hearts to God, which I think we're so blessed for, because you know, there's a lot of families where someone in the house believes and follows Jesus, and someone in the house doesn't, and that's a really hard situation to live with somebody that has different beliefs and values and morals than you. But I think, you know, through this church, I started playing music at the church in the band, and I really realized that, you know, God is the center of all of it, and He gave me this talent and this ability, and you know, I wanted to give it back to Him and do it for Him. I think, just like in a sense, you know, God brought me closer to music, and music also brought me closer to God. Everything I do is God-given, and I'm supposed to give it back to Him because He loves me unconditionally, and I should love Him the same way and give to Him the same way. In the middle of the day.
I'm gonna be completely honest, that scared the crap out of me.
I was looking at him the whole time, I couldn't even think about what I was saying. We'll wait till we can stop recording. We'll wait till we get past the ball. Dogs. I know, I just don't.